She spoke Italian in front of him hours later. He ordered "She's mine." "Subscribe because you never know, this might be our last meeting." The night was cold, sharp, and drenched in danger. Venice's narrow streets shimmered with golden reflections as the rain fell in thin silver threads. A woman in a red coat hurried through the alley, clutching her phone, her heels echoing against the cobblestone like a heartbeat she couldn't calm. Her name was Elena Moretti, 22, American by birth, but fluent in a language her mother never wanted her to speak again: Italian. And tonight, that single language was about to ruin her life. She had come to Italy for a quiet internship: art restoration, history, beauty. But beauty was deceptive here. Because inside the La Fenice Hotel, where the chandeliers glowed like molten glass, something dark waited behind those velvet curtains. As she entered, she could feel the eyes, the kind of silence that moves before violence. A group of men in tailored suits stood near the marble bar, dangerous, expensive, untouchable. And at the center of them sat Matteo De Luca, the youngest and most feared mafia don in northern Italy. His presence changed the air itself. He was in his early 30s, jet black hair slicked back, a jaw carved from authority, and eyes that looked like storms bottled behind glass. No one dared speak while he was silent. No one breathed wrong when he was thinking. Elena didn't know who he was. Not yet. She was only there to deliver a restored document for a private client. But as fate would have it, that client never showed up. Instead, she ended up standing just a few steps from Matteo's table, holding an envelope she didn't realize contained something more valuable than art. Matteo's gaze lifted. One look and the world narrowed. His voice was low, dangerous, magnetic. "Lost, Bella?" The men around him smirked, but she didn't notice. She was too busy trying to steady her breath. "I'm sorry. I was told to deliver this." Her accent was American, soft. But when the waiter suddenly brushed past and spilled wine near her shoes, she muttered under her breath in perfect Italian. "Per l'amor di Dio, guarda dove vai. For God's sake, watch where you're going." That single moment froze Matteo mid-sip. The entire table fell silent. His eyes sharpened like blades. "You speak Italian?" he asked quietly. Elena blinked, unsure why that mattered. "A little," she said. "My mother, she used to." "Who's your mother?" His tone was soft but lethal, the kind of softness that hides a gun behind it. Elena stepped back. Why would that matter? But it mattered, because the way she said those words, the accent, the tone was identical to a voice Matteo had heard years ago, the night his family was betrayed. The woman who destroyed his world had spoken the same way. He stood up, tall and calm, his suit cutting through the dim light like shadowed armor. Everyone else went silent as he walked toward her, his shoes echoing slow and steady. "Names have power here," he said. "And yours?" "Elena Moretti." The name landed like thunder. Matteo's jaw tightened. "Moretti." His eyes darkened, not in anger but in memory. The name belonged to a family that once crossed his, one that vanished without a trace. Elena had no idea. She just nodded nervously. "Yes, is that a problem?" He smiled faintly, a dangerous curve. "No, Bella, not a problem, a mystery." He leaned closer, close enough for her to smell his cologne, dark wood, smoke, and sin. "Tell me something," he murmured. "Who taught you Italian?" "My mother. She passed when I was 12. His eyes flickered. The world seemed to stop again. Something in her words tore through his calm like glass through silk. "Elena," he said her name slowly, tasting it like a secret. "Your mother's name?" She hesitated. "Lucia Moretti." And there it was, the ghost from his past, suddenly alive through the daughter standing before him. Matteo's jaw flexed, his breath slowing. He wanted to walk away, to forget the resemblance. But fate had other plans. A gunshot cracked outside. The glass shattered behind them. Screams filled the hall. Elena ducked, terrified, as bullets tore through the entrance. Matteo turned sharply, pulling her down behind the marble column. His men drew weapons instantly, returning fire. "Stay down," he growled, his hand gripping her wrist tightly. She was shaking. "Who are they?" He didn't answer. He just fired a warning shot that silenced the alley. The attack stopped as fast as it began, like a message. Matteo's hand was still on her arm. Her pulse raced beneath his touch. When the smoke cleared, he looked at her again, eyes darker than before. "You shouldn't have come here, Elena Moretti." She swallowed, trembling. "I didn't mean I was just—" He cut her off. "You spoke Italian in front of the wrong man." She stared at him, confused, terrified. "Why? What does that mean?" Matteo's lips brushed near her ear, his voice low, dangerous, possessive. "It means," he whispered, "you just signed your death sentence, sweetheart." The silence after the gunfire was heavy, the kind of silence that only follows death. Elena's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She could still smell gunpowder and expensive cologne in the air. Matteo De Luca stood over her, his gun smoking, his expression unreadable. Outside, sirens began to scream in the distance, but inside, it was just the two of them, predator and prey. He turned, sliding the weapon back into his holster. "Get up," he ordered quietly. Elena hesitated. "What's happening? Who were those people?" He looked down at her, his eyes dark as midnight. "People who thought they could send me a message." "And me?" she whispered. Matteo's gaze sharpened. "You," he said, "are the message they didn't expect." He started walking toward the back exit. One of his men, tall and scar-faced, whispered, "Boss, she saw everything. Want me to?" "No." Matteo's voice cut through the air like a blade. "She comes with me." Elena froze. "What do you mean? I have nothing to do with this." Matteo turned back, and for the first time his voice softened, though it still carried steel beneath it. "That's exactly why you're still breathing, Bella." Two black SUVs waited in the alley. Rain slid across their polished bodies, reflecting the hotel's burning lights. Matteo gestured for her to follow. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said, stepping back. He raised an eyebrow, amused by her defiance. "You're brave. I'll give you that. But bravery doesn't keep you alive in my world." She looked around. Men in suits surrounded her, silent, armed, efficient. There was no escape. "Get in the car," he said again, his tone final. She obeyed. The door slammed, sealing her fate. The car moved fast through the narrow streets, headlights cutting through the rain. Elena sat across from Matteo, trembling but trying not to show it. He sat with one arm resting on the window, watching her with a calm that felt more dangerous than the gunfire. Finally, she broke the silence. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere safe," he said simply. "Safe?" She almost laughed. "You just said I signed my death sentence." He smirked slightly. "You did, but I haven't decided if I'll carry it out yet." Her breath caught. "You think that's funny?" "No." His gaze turned serious. "I think it's interesting." She turned her face toward the rain-streaked window. "I didn't ask for this." "Neither did I," Matteo murmured. For a moment, silence returned. Then he asked quietly, "Your mother, Lucia Moretti, did she ever mention Naples?" Elena blinked. "No, why?" He didn't answer right away. He just stared out into the night. "Because she used to live there. Once upon a time, she made choices that changed everything." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," he replied, "that names carry ghosts, and yours just woke one." She frowned, trying to understand. "You think my mother did something to you?" He didn't look at her. "To me? No. To people I cared about? Yes." The car turned into a long driveway lined with cypress trees. At the end stood a massive villa overlooking the dark water, a fortress of glass and stone. Guards stood at the gates, nodding as the car passed. Elena stared in awe. "Is this where you live?" "For now." He stepped out first, then opened her door not out of politeness, but control. His eyes held hers as he said quietly, "You'll stay here until I decide what to do with you." She swallowed hard. "I'm not your prisoner." His voice dropped, smooth and dangerous. "Then prove you're not a threat." Inside, the villa glowed with soft amber light. Expensive art lined the walls, and the faint scent of tobacco lingered in the air. It was the home of a man who owned everything except peace. He led her to a guest room that was larger than her entire apartment back home. The bed was made with white silk sheets, the windows overlooking the stormy sea. "You'll have what you need," he said. "Clothes, food, privacy." "And freedom?" she asked bitterly. He gave a faint smirk. You're alive. That's more than freedom right now. She turned away, angry tears rising. You can't just keep me here. He walked closer, slow, deliberate, until the air between them felt heavy. Watch me. Her pulse raced. He was too close, too dangerous. And yet something in his eyes, the flicker of sadness, maybe guilt, made her chest tighten. Why do I feel like you're not telling me everything? She whispered. He stared at her, jaw tense. Because some truths are better left buried, Elena. Their eyes locked her fear against his darkness until one of his men appeared at the door. Boss? He said. They found the mark on her phone. Matteo turned sharply. What mark? The guard handed him the device. It was traced. Someone was tracking her since she arrived in Venice. Elena gasped. What? That's impossible. Matteo's eyes narrowed. Who gave you that phone? My professor, she stammered. He said it was part of the internship program. Matteo's voice dropped to a whisper. Your internship was a setup. He stepped closer again, his expression unreadable. Someone sent you to me, and now I need to find out why. Her breath trembled. I swear I don't know anything. I believe you, he said softly, surprising her. But belief doesn't mean safety. He turned toward his guard. No one touches her. Not a word leaves this villa. The guard nodded and left. Matteo looked back at her. You'll stay in this room tonight. Tomorrow we talk. He started to leave, then paused at the door. His voice was low, almost possessive now. Lock the door if it makes you feel safe, he said. But if you try to run... He met her eyes. The darkness in his tone sent chills through her spine. I'll find you, Elena. And next time I won't be this gentle. The door closed behind him. Elena sank onto the bed, her heart racing. Somewhere inside the walls, she could hear the distant sound of the sea, and maybe, just maybe, her destiny shifting, because she didn't know it yet. But Matteo De Luca had already made his decision. He wasn't going to kill her. He was going to keep her. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside the villa hadn't. Elena woke up to the sound of voices echoing down the marble hallway. Low, angry, masculine. She didn't understand most of the Italian words, but she caught one name repeated again and again. Moretti. Her name. Her mother's name. She stepped closer to the door, pressing her ear against the wood. She's not just some girl, a man's voice said sharply. Her family used to run with the old syndicate. You can't keep her here, Matteo. She's a liability. Matteo's voice was calm but heavy. She's not going anywhere until I know the truth. She could be a spy. Or she could be the only innocent thing left in this goddamn city, Matteo growled. Elena stepped back, her heart thudding. Spy? Syndicate? What were they talking about? The floor creaked behind her. She turned and froze. Matteo stood in the doorway, his hand resting on the frame, his shirt sleeves rolled up, exposing the tattoos winding down his arm. His eyes were darker than last night, but calmer somehow. How much did you hear? He asked softly. Elena hesitated. Enough to know I'm in the middle of something I don't understand. He stepped closer. Then let me help you understand. She folded her arms. By locking me in? He gave a faint smirk. You're still alive. I'd call that freedom compared to what my enemies would have done. She frowned, biting her lip. Why me? You don't even know me. Matteo's gaze lingered on her face. That's the problem. I do. He turned away, walking toward the balcony. The morning light poured through the glass, soft against his broad shoulders. Elena followed slowly. You think my mother betrayed you? I don't think, he said quietly. I know. He looked out over the ocean, voice low and distant. Years ago, there was a deal: money, weapons, loyalty. Your mother's name was on the documents. The night my father was killed, she disappeared. Elena shook her head. That's impossible. My mother was a teacher. We lived a quiet life. Matteo's expression didn't change. Everyone's quiet until the past decides to speak. She looked at him, searching for the man beneath the danger. And you think I'm here because of that? He turned to her slowly, his eyes softer now. I think you walked into my world for a reason, and I don't believe in coincidences. The silence between them thickened. For a moment, She forgot where she was trapped in a villa owned by a killer. All she saw was a man standing under gray light, haunted by something deeper than hate. He noticed her staring. "What?" he asked quietly. "You don't look like the monster everyone says you are," she whispered. His lips curved, not quite a smile. "Then you haven't seen enough of me yet." Later that day, Elena wandered through the villa. Guards followed her silently at a distance, but no one spoke. She stopped at a door that led to Matteo's private office. The door was slightly open. Curiosity pulled her in. The room smelled of leather and whiskey. Files were scattered across the desk: photographs, documents, maps of port routes. One picture caught her eye, a woman with long brown hair and gentle eyes. Her breath hitched. It was her mother. Before she could touch the photo, a voice behind her said, "You shouldn't be here." She turned quickly. Matteo stood there, watching her, hands in his pockets. "I'm sorry," she stammered. "I just saw my past," he finished for her. "And maybe yours." He walked closer, stopping right in front of her. His scent wrapped around her cedar. Smoke. Danger. "Lucia Moretti," he said softly. "She saved my life once, then destroyed everything that came after." Elena looked up at him. "What happened to her?" He studied her face for a long time. "She disappeared, just like that. And when she did, my father was dead." Elena's chest tightened. "You think she killed him?" Matteo's voice was rough. "No, but she knew who did." Their eyes met. The tension between them was unbearable now. Grief, fear, attraction. Everything mixing into something sharp and fragile. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. "Because every time I look at you," he said, stepping closer, "I see the woman who broke me and the woman who might save me." Her breath trembled. "Matteo," he brushed a strand of hair from her face. His touch was slow, almost reverent. "You shouldn't be afraid of me, Elena," she whispered. "But I am." He smiled faintly. "Good. Fear keeps you alive." For a moment, he leaned in, his breath warm against her cheek, his hand brushing her jaw. Her heart pounded like thunder. She wanted to pull away, but she couldn't move. Then he stopped, pulled back. His eyes burned with restraint. "I shouldn't," he said under his breath. "Not with you." "Why?" she asked, barely audible. "Because once I start," he whispered, "I don't stop." The silence that followed was heavy, intimate, dangerous. But before she could speak, the door burst open. One of Matteo's guards rushed in, pale and breathless. "Boss, we have a problem." Matteo turned sharply, voice cold again. "What now?" "They hit the warehouse. 2 of our men are dead. They left a message." The guard handed him a blood-stained note. Matteo read it, jaw tightening. Elena watched as his entire body went still. "What does it say?" she asked. He looked up at her, eyes unreadable. "It says, 'Return what belongs to us.'" Her stomach twisted. "Me?" Matteo didn't answer. He crushed the note in his fist. "No one touches you," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." "Matteo, maybe this is about—" He cut her off. "No, this is war." He turned to his men. "Lock down the villa. Double the guards. No one in or out." Then he looked back at her, softer, but still filled with fire. "Whatever this is, Elena, you've become the center of it. And I don't know whether to protect you." He paused, stepping close enough for her to feel his breath again. "Or destroy you." The door slammed behind him, leaving her standing there shaken, confused, and completely lost in the pull of a man who should have been her enemy. Outside, thunder rolled again, echoing the storm building between them. The villa slept under moonlight, but inside, no one was truly asleep. Matteo De Luca stood on the balcony of his office, a glass of whiskey in his hand, the waves below crashing against the cliffs like broken promises. The wind tugged at his shirt, and his thoughts drifted toward her, the girl sleeping just a few rooms away. Elena Moretti, the daughter of the woman who had ruined everything. He should have hated her. He tried to. But every time he looked at her frightened eyes, her trembling defiance, something in him softened. Something dangerous. Behind him, footsteps echoed softly. He didn't turn around. "Couldn't sleep?" Elena's voice answered quietly. Neither could you. He smiled faintly. You shouldn't be wandering around the house at night. My men might mistake you for an intruder. I'm already your prisoner, she said. How much worse can it get? He turned then, setting the glass down. The moonlight touched her face, turning her hair to silver. She wore one of the silk robes his staff had left far too elegant for her, yet somehow made for her. Matteo walked closer, each step slow and deliberate. You think you're my prisoner? She met his gaze. Aren't I? His eyes softened. No, you're under my protection. There's a difference. Protection from who? She whispered. He looked away. From the people who think you belong to them. Her brow furrowed. I don't belong to anyone. His voice dropped low. You'd be surprised how many men have killed over a woman who thought the same. For a moment, they just stood there, the air heavy between them, fear, desire, and something unspoken weaving like smoke. She took a breath. Matteo, if my mother really hurt you, I'm sorry, but I'm not her. He looked at her sharply. I know that. Then why do you keep me here? He hesitated for the first time since she met him. Because the night you walked into that hotel, something changed. The men who attacked us weren't after me. They were after you. Someone used your mother's name to draw you in. And now, he stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Now you're part of my world whether you want it or not. Elena's chest rose and fell, her pulse loud in her ears. And what if I don't survive your world? Matteo's gaze darkened. Then I'll burn it before I let it touch you. She froze, the intensity in his words slicing through her fear. He meant it. She could feel it. Why? She whispered. Because, he said softly, I can't watch another innocent die because of me. The confession slipped out before he could stop it. He turned away, gripping the railing as if to steady himself. Elena stepped closer. Who did you lose? He exhaled slowly. My brother. 5 years ago, a deal gone wrong. Your mother was there that night. She shook her head. No, that can't be true. He looked at her not with anger, but pain. I saw her. I was 25. He was 23. The gunfire started and Lucia Moretti was the last person he tried to protect. Tears welled in her eyes. If that's true, then she wasn't part of it. My mother would never. He stepped forward suddenly, his hand catching her wrist, not hard, but desperate. Don't defend her until you know everything, Elena. Sometimes good people hide the darkest truths. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. And what about you, Matteo? Are you one of the good people? He stared at her, then smiled faintly. No, Bella. I'm the kind your mother warned you about. Yet his thumb brushed her wrist gently, his touch contradicting every word. The air between them thickened. He was close enough for her to feel the warmth of his breath, the heat of his body. Her heart raced so fast it almost hurt. Matteo, she whispered. He hesitated, his jaw tight, fighting something invisible. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you don't know who I am. He stepped back, breaking the tension, and poured another drink. You should sleep. Tomorrow will be worse. She didn't move. You hide behind danger like it's armor. He smirked faintly. And you hide behind innocence. For a long moment, silence lingered heavy, electric. Then Matteo sighed. There's something you need to see. He walked to his desk and pulled out a small old photograph. He handed it to her. It showed 2 young boys, Matteo, and another with the same sharp jawline and easy smile. Between them stood a woman Elena recognized instantly. Her mother. Elena's breath caught. She knew you. She saved us, Matteo said quietly. My brother and me. She worked with our father. She was loyal. Until the night she wasn't. Elena shook her head, tears spilling. There has to be more to it. There always is. He reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. His touch was slow, tender, completely out of place in this world of blood and violence. I don't want to hurt you, Elena, he said softly. But I can't let you go until I know what game we're playing. She looked up at him, her voice barely audible. And what if I'm not part of the game? His thumb lingered on her skin. Then you'll be my biggest mistake. Their eyes met, and something fragile cracked inside both of them. The moment stretched deep and dangerous, until a knock shattered it. "Boss!" a guard shouted from the hall. "You need to see this." Mateo pulled back instantly, his expression hard again. "What is it?" "They hacked our system. Someone's inside the network. They know she's here." Elena's stomach twisted. "Who?" Mateo's jaw clenched. "Whoever wants you back." He looked at her, his eyes fierce, protective, possessive. "From now on," he said, voice low and final, "you don't leave my sight. Not for a second." She whispered, "So now I'm your prisoner again?" He stepped close, his words brushing against her ear. "No," he said, "you're mine." Her heart stopped. Outside, lightning flashed over the sea, bright, violent, and blinding. Inside, two souls stood inches apart, one chained by guilt, the other by fate, as the line between hate and love began to blur completely. Thunder rolled over the cliffs like an angry god. By dawn, Mateo's villa was no longer just a fortress. It was a battlefield waiting to ignite. Armed men filled the halls, radios crackling, tension hanging thick in the air. Every door, every window was guarded. The sea below, once peaceful, now looked like black glass hiding monsters. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, her hands trembling as she listened to the chaos outside her door. She'd barely slept. Every word Mateo had said last night echoed in her head. "You're mine." It wasn't a threat, it wasn't a promise. It was something darker, something she didn't understand. The door opened. Mateo stepped in. He looked different, black shirt, holster over his shoulder, eyes cold. The man who had shown her pain and tenderness last night was gone. This was the Mafia boss again. "We're leaving," he said simply. Elena stood, her voice soft but sharp. "Why? What's happening?" Mateo didn't answer immediately. He crossed the room, opened the curtains, and pointed toward the horizon. 3 black boats were cutting across the waves toward the cliffs. "Someone found us," he said. "Someone who shouldn't have." Her heart lurched. "My mother?" He turned sharply. "If it's her, then she's no longer the woman you think she is." Before she could speak, the sound of gunfire cracked through the morning air. Guards shouted orders outside. Mateo grabbed her hand. "Move." He pulled her through the back corridor as bullets shattered glass somewhere down the hall. The villa that had felt like a golden cage now felt like it was burning down around them. They ran through the marble hallways, her bare feet cold on the floor, his grip tight, unrelenting. "Where are we going?" she gasped. "To the vault," he said. "It's the only safe room left." They reached a steel door at the end of the corridor. Mateo punched in a code, the lock clicked, and he shoved her inside. The room was dim, lined with metal walls and shelves of weapons. She stood against the cold wall, her chest heaving. He turned to her, gun in hand, sweat glistening on his temples. "Stay here. No matter what happens, don't open that door." Elena shook her head. "I'm not staying here alone." He moved closer, his voice low, commanding. "You will if you want to live." Tears burned her eyes. "And what about you?" He looked at her, and for the briefest second, the mask of the Mafia boss slipped. She saw the man beneath, the man who had already lost too much. He reached for her face, his thumb brushing her lips. "I'll come back, I swear it." "Mateo," he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, raw. It tasted like fear and fire and everything he'd never said. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark and wild. "If I don't say it," she whispered, clutching his shirt. "You will." He smiled faintly, heartbreak in his eyes. "You make me believe in impossible things." Then he turned and left, locking the door behind him. Outside, the villa erupted into chaos. Mateo moved like a shadow, gun steady, mind sharper than ever. His men were pinned down near the main staircase. He fired, hitting 2 attackers before they could advance. Marco shouted from the hall. "They're using our system against us. Someone gave them the codes." Mateo cursed under his breath. "Then we have a traitor." As he reloaded, a voice crackled through the comms. "Mateo De Luca," the voice drawled low, mocking, familiar. "Still playing hero, I see." Mateo froze. He knew that voice. "Johnny," he said coldly. "You're supposed to be dead." Johnny laughed. Rumors are so dramatic, aren't they, brother? Matteo's chest tightened. What do you want? Her, Gianni said. The girl, the daughter of Lucia Moretti. You stole what was mine. Matteo's grip tightened on the gun. She was never yours. Gianni's voice grew darker. Oh, but she will be. Just like our mother. Just like every woman who thought she could save a DeLuca. Static filled the line, followed by the sharp crack of another explosion. Matteo ran. He reached the end of the hall just as one of the walls gave way. Smoke filled the corridor. Through it, he saw a figure in black tall, smirking his brother, alive, holding a detonator in his hand. Gianni tilted his head. Miss me, Fratello? Matteo raised his gun. You sold us to the Russians. You killed our father. Gianni grinned. Correction. We killed him. You just never had the courage to admit it. They circled each other, years of hate tightening between them like a noose. You think I'll let you touch her? Matteo growled. Gianni's smirk widened. You already did. That's your sin. You fell for her. And now, brother, you'll pay for it. He pressed the detonator. A flash of light, the wall exploded, throwing Matteo across the room. His head hit the floor. Pain flared white. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard shouting. Elena, find the girl. His blood ran cold. He forced himself up, limping toward the vault, smoke and fire swirling around him. Inside the vault, Elena heard the blast and screamed. Matteo. She pounded on the door. Matteo. No answer. Panic clawed at her chest. She looked around the walls, the shelves, until her gaze fell on a small metal lever beside the door. A manual override. She hesitated. He'd told her not to move. But what if he was dying out there? Her hand trembled. I'm not losing you too, she whispered and pulled the lever. The door hissed open. Smoke poured in. She stepped out, coughing, her vision blurred. The corridor was destroyed, pieces of ceiling scattered, blood on the floor. Matteo, she cried again. A shadow moved ahead. Relief flooded her. Matteo. But it wasn't him. It was Gianni. He smiled, cruel, charming, identical to Matteo, except for the emptiness in his eyes. Well, well, he said softly. So this is what my brother's been hiding. Elena backed away, heart racing. You're his brother. And you, he said, walking toward her, are my leverage. He reached for her wrist. Before he could touch her, a gunshot rang out. Gianni froze, a crimson bloom spreading across his shoulder. Matteo stood at the end of the hall, blood running down his temple, gun steady. Step away from her. Gianni laughed through the pain. You'll have to kill me first. Matteo's voice was like steel. I intend to. The corridor was smoke and fire, the smell of blood heavy in the air. Matteo's boots echoed against the marble as he stepped closer, gun still raised. Gianni stood half in shadow, smirking even as blood soaked his shoulder. You never learn, Gianni said, voice low and taunting. Still trying to save what you'll eventually destroy. Matteo's jaw tightened. You should have stayed dead. Gianni chuckled, eyes burning with cruel amusement. And miss this family reunion? Never. Behind Matteo, Elena pressed herself against the wall, terrified. The two brothers were mirror images, one made of guilt, the other of madness. Gianni's gaze flicked to her. She's beautiful, he murmured. Now I see why you kept her. But tell me, brother, does she know what you did to our father? Matteo's grip tightened on the trigger. Shut up! Gianni tilted his head. You think she'll still look at you like that with those soft, trusting eyes when she finds out? Matteo fired. The bullet grazed Gianni's arm, slamming him back into the wall. You talk too much, Matteo growled. But Gianni only laughed, that same cold, haunting laugh Matteo remembered from childhood. Always the same. The hero who kills his monsters, not realizing he's one of them. Matteo stepped forward. This ends tonight. Gianni raised his hands mockingly. Then shoot me, but be quick before the others arrive. Matteo hesitated. Others? Gianni grinned wider. Did you think I came alone? Before Matteo could react, shouts erupted from below. More men armed, masked, stormed the villa. The walls shook under the force of grenades and gunfire. Marco's voice crackled through Matteo's earpiece. Boss, we're overrun. They've got heavy weapons, we can't hold them. Matteo's mind raced. Evacuate the lower levels. Fall back to the west exit. Johnny smirked. Always the commander. Always trying to save everyone. You never learned that saving others costs you the people you love. Mateo lunged, the brothers collided, crashing into the wall. The gun fell, skidding across the floor. They fought brutally, years of rage and betrayal bursting through every punch. Johnny slammed Mateo into the wall, sneering. You think she'll love you after this? After she finds out what you did? Mateo's fist struck him across the jaw. I warned you. Blood sprayed across the marble. Johnny laughed through it. Insane. Unstoppable. Tell her, Mateo. Tell her who really pulled the trigger that night. Elena's heart hammered. What is he talking about? She whispered. Mateo froze for a fraction of a second, and that was all Johnny needed. He pulled a knife from his belt and slashed Mateo across the ribs. Mateo staggered back, blood darkening his shirt. Johnny turned toward Elena, knife dripping. Poor girl. You don't know, do you? Your mother didn't kill our father. He did. Elena's eyes widened. No, that's not true. Johnny smiled coldly. He pulled the trigger, to save himself, to save me. But he lied, he let her take the blame. Enough, Mateo roared, tackling his brother to the ground. They crashed through a broken doorway, tumbling down the stairs. Dust rose, wood splintered. The sound of their fight echoed through the burning villa, raw, violent, primal. Elena ran after them, tears blurring her sight. At the base of the stairs, she saw Mateo pin Johnny down, the knife at his throat. Say it again, Mateo hissed. Say it again, and I'll end you. Gianni's voice rasped, low and vicious. You already did. Mateo froze the words, hitting him harder than the fight ever could. Johnny smirked through the blood. You think she doesn't see it? The way you look at her like she's salvation. You don't save people, brother. You destroy them. Mateo's hand trembled. His breath came ragged. He wanted to kill him, wanted it more than anything. But something in Elena's voice stopped him. Mateo, don't. He turned, and in her eyes, he saw everything he was about to lose. He threw the knife aside, chest heaving. Take him! He shouted to Marco, who had just arrived with 2 guards. Lock him in the cellars. No one goes near him until I say. Johnny laughed as they dragged him away. You'll see, brother. Truth has a way of bleeding through lies. When the noise faded, Mateo leaned against the wall, blood still seeping from his side. Elena approached slowly. Is it true? He closed his eyes. Not like he said. Then tell me the truth. He looked at her. Exhaustion and guilt etched deep in his face. My father was cruel. He betrayed our family. That night, your mother tried to stop him, but he turned his gun on us. I pulled the trigger to save Gianni. She saw everything. She ran before I could explain. Elena's throat tightened. So all these years, he nodded. All these years I blamed her because it was easier than blaming myself. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Mateo. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his voice trembling. You weren't supposed to be part of this. I swore I'd never let my past touch you, but it found us anyway. She looked up, eyes glassy. And now what happens to us? He didn't answer. His hand lingered on her cheek, soft and trembling. You shouldn't stay here. I'm not leaving you, she said firmly. He smiled faintly, brokenly. You should, because what's coming next, I can't protect you from it. Before she could respond, an explosion ripped through the east wing. Mateo grabbed her, shielding her as glass and debris rained down. When the smoke cleared, he saw the impossible Gianni's cell door blown open. He was gone. Mateo's eyes darkened. He's going after her mother. Elena froze. My mother, but... He wants revenge, Mateo said, and he'll use you to get it. He turned to Marco. Get the cars ready. We're hunting him down. Elena grabbed his arm. Mateo, wait. You're bleeding. He cupped her face, eyes blazing. I've bled for worse reasons. Why are you doing this? She whispered. His answer was simple, raw, and true. Because I'd rather die than let him touch you. As dawn broke over the smoking ruins of the villa, Mateo and his men sped down the coastal highway the hunt had begun. Beside him, Elena stared out at the fading sea, her heart torn between love and fear. Behind them, the house burned, and somewhere ahead, Gianni DeLuca disappeared into the fog, carrying the next secret that could destroy them both. Rain blurred the world into silver streaks outside the speeding car. Mateo's hands gripped the wheel so hard his knuckles whitened, headlights slicing through the darkness of the coastal road. Beside him, Elena stared out the window, her reflection pale and silent against the storm. They had been driving for hours. Every few minutes, Mateo checked the rear mirror, one habit from a lifetime of ambushes. "He's not far," he muttered. "Gianni?" Elena asked softly. He nodded. "He's been a shadow since Naples. He wants us cornered." Elena hugged her arms. "Then why are we going toward him?" Mateo's jaw tightened. "Because running means he wins. Tonight, it ends." Thunder rolled over the cliffs. Inside the car, tension breathed louder than the storm. She turned toward him. "You think killing him will fix anything. I think not killing him will cost me you," Mateo said quietly. Her breath caught. "You can't mean that." He shot her a quick glance. Rainlight gleamed in his eyes. "I've already lost everything once. I won't lose again." Silence. Only the sound of wipers slicing rain. Then her voice broke through, trembling. "Mateo, what if I tell you something that changes everything?" His hand froze on the gear. "What?" "My mother, she wasn't working with Gianni 5 years ago. She was working against him. She saved your brother from an ambush. But someone tipped Gianni off. Someone from your own men." Mateo's breath hitched. "You're lying." "I'm not." She reached into her coat and pulled a small flash drive. "Before she disappeared, she left this with me. Said if anything happened, to give it to the man named Matteo De Luca." He stared at it as if it were a gun. "What's on it?" "Proof." Her eyes glistened. "Proof that the person who killed your brother wasn't my mother, it was your cousin Luca." Mateo's world tilted. "No, Luca's been loyal since." A gunshot cracked through the storm. The windshield exploded. "Down!" Mateo shouted, grabbing Elena's head and ducking her below the dashboard. Another shot ripped the rear mirror off. He slammed the car to the side of the road, engine smoking. They tumbled out, crouching behind the door as bullets chewed the metal. Through the rain, a figure emerged, tall, leather-jacketed, eyes burning under the hood. "Luca De Luca. You should have stayed in your cage, cousin," he roared. "You were never supposed to find out." Mateo's chest tightened. "You killed Marco?" Luca laughed bitterly. "I did what I had to. He was going to give the family to a woman, to her mother." He pointed at Elena. "All because she played hero for the De Lucas." Elena flinched as Mateo rose slowly, gun in hand. "You betrayed blood, and you're about to join him." Luca raised his weapon, but Mateo fired first. The bullet struck Luca's shoulder. He stumbled back, firing wildly, sparks flying off the car. Rain soaked everything: gunfire, lightning, screams. When the shot stopped, Mateo was breathing hard, gun trembling in his hand. Luca lay against the guardrail, blood mixing with the rain. Mateo approached slowly. Luca coughed, smiling through crimson teeth. "You think killing me saves you? The police know everything. You'll die for this, cousin." Mateo's eyes were hollow. "Maybe, but at least you won't." He fired once more. Silence followed. Only the sound of rain and the sea below. Elena stepped out from behind the car, shaking. "Mateo." He turned to her. Rain and tears were indistinguishable on his face. "It's over." She shook her head. "No, it's not. The flash drive, it has names, accounts, shipments. If the police get it, you'll go down too." He looked at her, realization dawning. "You knew. I wanted to save you," she whispered. "But there's no saving either of us now." "But there's no saving either of us now." He reached her, cupping her face. "Then we run." "Run where?" "Anywhere." His voice cracked. "As long as you're breathing beside me, I'll build a world from ashes." Her lips trembled. "And if I can't forgive what you've done, then I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make you forget." For a moment, the world narrowed to their faces, the rain, the blood, the heartbreak. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, fierce, like two souls clinging to the only warmth left in the storm. When they broke apart, blue lights flashed in the distance. Sirens. Elena looked toward them. "Mateo." He nodded grimly. Get in the car. She hesitated. What about you? He brushed a strand of wet hair from her cheek. They'll only chase us if I'm alive. Go. Her eyes widened. No. He kissed her once, hard. Ti amo, Elena. Then he turned, firing into the air, drawing the sirens closer, giving her time to escape. She screamed his name as he walked into the flashing lights, hands raised, the storm swallowing him whole. The last thing she saw before disappearing into the dark road was Matteo De Luca, the man who had once sworn to burn the world for her, now standing against it alone. 3 months later, winter had settled over the Amalfi coast. The sea was calm again, the same cliffs now dusted with pale mist instead of fire and blood. The villa stood silent, shuttered, guarded, waiting for ghosts that never returned. In a small cafe overlooking the harbor, Elena sat alone by the window. She wore a long beige coat, her hair tucked under a scarf, her eyes hidden behind dark glasses. She had changed softer around the edges, but harder in the heart. In front of her lay a newspaper folded to a headline. Matteo De Luca, sentenced to 25 years testimony reveals betrayal within the De Luca family. Her fingers trembled slightly as she traced the photo below Matteo, in handcuffs, head held high, eyes as cold and unreadable as the night they met. He hadn't looked at the camera. He never did. She closed her eyes. His last words still echoed in her mind. Ti amo, Elena. And then the gunshots, the chaos, the silence. The cafe door chimed. A man entered, snow clinging to his jacket. He moved to the counter, ordered an espresso, and for a brief second Elena's heart stopped. The angle, the way he stood, it was him. But when he turned, it wasn't. Just a stranger. Her chest tightened, and she looked away quickly. She'd been living like that for months, haunted by shadows that wore his face. Every sound of boots on stone, every knock at the door, every flash of lightning. He was gone, but he was everywhere. The waitress arrived with a small envelope. Someone dropped this for you, signora. Elena frowned. Who? The woman shrugged. He didn't say. Inside, her fingers brushed a thick card embossed with the seal of San Vittore prison, and one line, handwritten in Matteo's rough, slanted script. The world is quieter without me in it, but I see you in every silence, M. Her eyes filled instantly. She turned the card over. A tiny key was taped to the back. Her breath caught. The waitress noticed her expression. Are you all right? Elena forced a shaky smile. Yes. That night, she drove north away from the sea. The key burned warm in her pocket. It didn't open a cell. It opened his secret vault, buried beneath the old vineyard where it all began. When she reached it, dawn was breaking soft pink spilling across the cold hills. She found the hidden door under the vines, just as he once told her during a quiet night on the balcony. If I ever disappear, follow the grapes. They'll lead you to the truth. Inside, the air was cool and still. Dust floated through the first beam of sunlight as she unlocked the chest in the corner. Inside, she found a letter, a gun, and a small music box. The kind a child might own. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the letter. Elena, if you're reading this, then I couldn't keep my promise. I told you I'd burn the world before it touched you. Instead, I burned myself. You once asked if I was one of the good men. I'm not. But for you, I tried to be. I could live with the blood, not with the look in your eyes. So I gave them everything. The names, the roots, the accounts. Enough to end the De Luca empire forever. I traded my kingdom for your freedom. Don't wait for me. But if you ever find yourself watching the sea at night and the waves sound like my name, know that I never stopped loving you. Matteo. By the time she finished reading, her tears had blurred every word. The music box slipped from her hand and opened. A soft melody filled the vault. A lullaby, one she remembered from the nights he couldn't sleep. The notes echoed softly, wrapping her in a quiet, unbearable ache. She pressed the box to her chest and whispered, Ti amo, Matteo, I never stopped either. Weeks later, the newspapers changed tone. The De Luca family empire collapsed. Gianni's network was dismantled, and a mysterious informant had disappeared from the prison transport during a storm off the coast. They never found the body, but sometimes, late at night, as Elena stood on the balcony of her new home overlooking the sea, she heard a car engine far below. A flash of headlights on the cliffs, a shadow that moved just a second too slow to be imagined. And only once she heard a voice through the rain. Low, rough, familiar. Still watching the waves, Bella? Her breath caught. She turned. but the balcony was empty, only the scent of salt and smoke lingered in the air. She smiled through her tears, heart trembling. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, she whispered to the night. I kept your promise, Mateo. The world didn't touch me, but you did. The waves answered softly, breaking against the cliffs like a heartbeat, and somewhere in that endless rhythm, love survived, unbroken, unseen, eternal.